The key roles is basically as a journalist, our main job is to get our story out. So we get invited for events where we go and attend. It could be anything, either a program or a ministry event. And basically, we go there, we cover the whole thing, we come back and write the story and then send it in to the editor to be published. So as a daily basis, we don't go out every day. So on the days that we are in the office, we clear press releases, which means that basically we check our emails and then we look through and pick out those that are newsworthy, and then we write it out again to be published. We also do follow-up calls for news. So sometimes it's not all about events, like say if there's an issue that happens and then we are informed by our editor that we have to do a follow-up story on something, and then that's where we also have to make calls to the relevant people. So that's where our contact base comes in. We have to know the right people to call to ask the right questions as well. And also we have to contact the editor sometimes when there are certain events that we know about. People call us and then we inform the editor. That's part of our responsibility. And also for feature stories, because I work on the education desk, so apart from the daily news, we also have a Sunday pull-out. And for that, we sometimes look for our own stories. So we have to think about what is relevant today in the news, and then think about how we can formulate a story from there. So if you're talking about kindergarten, maybe there's a big issue, then we interview parents on what other ways, alternative learning ways or things. So these are stories that we have to think of and come up on our own. Yeah. Actually, I never really knew from young that I wanted to be a journalist. When I was in high school, during my last year of high school, we had a subject on a little bit on media in English class. So while I was taking that subject, I thought it was quite interesting. It really grabbed my attention. And since I was pretty clueless anyway about what I wanted to do, I knew I didn't like maths. So I basically thought, okay, I'm going to pursue this further. And when it was time to send in university applications, I applied for media and communications. And then while I was in university, I did more on journalism. I took a few classes, and then I also looked for opportunities where I could just try writing and see if I liked it. And that's where I started sending in stories for the university newspaper. And then I also did some work for the overseas students because I was in university overseas. So I did work for the magazine and eventually became the editor of the magazine. And then that's where I really learned a lot more about the trade. I was actually sourcing out stories, getting people to write in and all that. And so by the time I graduated, I already had enough, I wouldn't say enough, but I already had quite a good number of stories published. And then my friend told me about a job opening here, and then I applied, and since then I've been here. For me, I think as a journalist, every day is just different, and every day you can go from 0 level of stress all the way to 100% stress within 5 minutes, within a phone call. So for me, the most challenging is usually when I have a plan to finish up my own stories back in the office, because we do have a stockpile of stories to do. And sometimes you know that story is due, but then something happens outside and then we get informed, we get a call to say, can you please go out and cover this person who, I don't know, maybe having a press conference because he got bullied in class or something like that. And these are unexpected events. So, or sometimes also for when the minister announces something and then suddenly you have to go out, and in the morning when you're getting to work, you probably didn't expect that to be happening. So it's challenging when you have to drop what you're doing, change your plans, go out, come back and cover the story. There's also another time when I actually went for an assignment with the minister, and I thought this would be a quick one, so I'll just go there, get the story, come back and write it. But what happened was the minister said 3 different things, so it had to be 3 different stories when I came back. Then when I was on the way back, I was also still getting calls from the office asking what's the update and things like that. So, I had to park my car at the side of the road and answer the call, and then after that quickly come back to the office. So those are rather the more chaotic days, and it's on and off in the job. Meeting people. I really like the fact that it's not a 9 to 5 in front of the office and every day you come to work, you see the same people in office. I mean, the people in office are great, but it's not a job where it's a routine. There's no routine. So it's refreshing every day that when you get an assignment, it's unexpected, and at the same time, you never know what's going to happen or who you're going to meet. Or if you think about, say you want to write a story about a particular career, I've seen people who deal with seahorses, very specific, and they tell me stories about how seahorses mate, and it takes 2 weeks, and I didn't know that before this. And then the next thing you know, you're meeting a pilot and he tells you about flying a plane. So it's always interesting, and that keeps me going. That keeps me wanting to come to work every day. I also enjoy the fact that we get to listen to people's stories and then share it with everyone else, and then get paid for it. So really, it's a good. I wouldn't think of my job as a job. It's just a work and play together in one. Okay, to be a journalist, I think it's a really great career because there's no maths involved. I mean, maybe minimal, and then you get to be the first to know things about certain issues that you're covering. You get to listen to it firsthand, and then you get to tell everybody else about it. It's also very exciting and very adrenaline pumping because you never know what's going to happen when you arrive. You don't know how the place is like. You drive there, is there, when you have to go early because you're not sure if there's going to be parking or not, and then you arrive and you see that this whole scene is probably unexpected from what you had in your head previously. So it's a very exciting job, and it really is a very fulfilling job at the end of the day when you see your byline published. It's just a good job to be in. Okay, first and foremost, you have to enjoy writing, and you have to be able to write quickly because it's all about deadlines. But I think as a person, you have to be a good people person. You have to like meeting people because that's what you do. You meet people, you listen to their story, you write the story. So if you don't like meeting people, then it's probably going to be a bit challenging. But also, you have to be very punctual. If you are given an assignment at 8 in the morning, you have to be there by 8 o'clock, not wake up at 8 o'clock. And also meet your deadlines because that's at the end of the day, you have to meet your deadlines to get it out in time because we have a publishing close time. And you have to be able to take in different points of views because as a journalist, you have to be fair and you have to you should know what is an unbiased view. So when you ask something, when A says something, you have to ask B and say, look, this is what A says. It's not up to you to put out your opinion unless it's an op-ed. So that's one of the things as well. You have to stand away from your perspective sometimes. There are many inspiring moments because, like I said before, I meet different people. But I was very surprised when I met this girl. She was only 21. I think she's 21 now. When I met her, she was probably 20. And it was at a scholarship event. And this girl, she said, she was one of the many recipients, but when I interviewed her, she told me that both her parents had passed away, and she's the eldest of 3 siblings. So she had to raise her younger sister and brother, but at the same time, she really wanted to be a physiotherapist. So she was very happy when she got it because she said during her STPM, she had to, because they live with their aunt. So during her STPM, she had to work part-time as a nurse to help support her siblings. And even then, when she found out about the scholarship, she quickly applied, and even to get the application form, it took her a long time to just get one set of forms printed, and it was so precious to her that she had to take a taxi personally to hand it in. So it was very touching, and when I heard it, I never thought that, usually when you think about inspiring stories, you always think that the person has to be old or the person has to be, older and wiser where they can tell you back in the day what happened or what they did. But young people can really inspire you sometimes, and I came back that day and I thought about it after writing the story, and it just really changed the way I look at things and how I shouldn't take things for granted.